The Fourier study was the first study of a monoclonal antibody to PCSK9 with the outcome of morbidity and mortality. There have been several sort of earlier studies looking at the extent to which this new treatment lowered LDL cholesterol, and of course the results were extremely impressive. But for the clinician and for the regulatory authorities, we have to be convinced that it's not just lowering LDL cholesterol that's important, but does it actually save lives? So that was the background to the Fourier study. It was 27,500 patients in 49 countries, one of the largest lipid-lowering studies ever done. These were in patients who were already on optimal statin treatment because they'd had either a heart attack or a stroke. And this was really an attempt to see whether getting the cholesterol level even lower would confer added benefits. Well, the outcomes of the study were very, very clear. If you look at the two different endpoints, the primary endpoint, which was a sort of complex cardiovascular endpoint, including cardiovascular death, non-fatal MI, stroke, unstable angina, and so on. That was reduced by 15%, and the main secondary endpoint, which is CV death, non-fatal MI, and stroke, was reduced by 20%. So that's a substantial added benefit to these patients who were already taking statins. I think that the study has answered a number of questions, but it also raises a number of additional questions. I think the first thing we want to be convinced about is safety, and certainly in the trial there was no sign whatsoever of any adverse events associated with the drug. I think we want to look at the long-term benefits, because what we've seen from some of the statin studies is that if you follow on the patients for 5 years or even 10 after the study, they continue to benefit from having been assigned, the drug in the main trial. So we're going to do that with evolocumab in the Fourier study, and I think there's every intention and anticipation that that will show long-term benefits. In a sense, Fourier is the first morbidity-mortality outcome study. It's all very well, as I said a moment ago, to lower cholesterol, but you've got to be sure that that's associated with reducing heart attacks, strokes, and in the end, cardiovascular death and possibly all-cause mortality. There will be other studies that will come along and are likely, I suspect, to show similar benefits. Then, of course, it's a question of can we afford it? Now, you have to take a step back for a moment and think about, the population out there. And in the biggest European-wide study that was published last year, about 80% of patients who have had a heart attack, who are on statins, still have a cholesterol level that is above 1.8 millimoles per liter, which was essentially the level we started at in Fourier. So we took that level and we racked it down by 60%, and we showed an additional 20% benefit. So the issue is, yes, we've got the benefit, can we afford it? Well, the price of the drug varies around the world. It's about $14,000 a year in the US. In the UK, the off-the-peg price is about £4,000 a year, but the negotiated price to the NHS is substantially lower than that. It's somewhere around about £2,000. Now, that is a price which makes this drug cost-effective. If we go back 10 years and we think about how much we were paying for statins, we were certainly paying over £1,000 a year to treat a patient with what were then the patentable statins. So we're in the same ballpark. you know, and, you know, preventing heart attacks and stopping people being in hospital, preventing people lying in beds with heart failure, preventing people with debilitating strokes, lying in hospital, you know, if we can prevent some of those with this drug, that is a real advance on what we have in our therapeutic bag at the moment.